single startup school session we've ever run for the last, I don't know, 4 years or so in there. So you can feel free to take a peek. And tonight we have Tarek Sadek in to teach you guys about opportunity evaluation with, I guess, a little bit of a twist. He and I chatted yesterday, and he wants to kind of take this in a funner direction so that you guys get the most out of this session. So I will absolutely just leave it to him to give you all of his credentials, all of that good stuff. He has presented at Startup School. No, he hasn't, actually. He took this one over. I forgot. We haven't had a chance to have him in yet because I feel like Tarek's always away when I want him to come present, but it's all good. So Tarek, I'll hand it off to you. If anything happens, just keep an eye on your email. But I'll jump in if you're breaking up or anything like that. And if anybody has questions, you guys just throw them in the documents. And I think that's pretty much it. So take it away.
Thank you, Clea, for all the introduction. And I'm not gonna spend a lot of time talking about my credential and stuff like that. My background is originally I have an undergraduate degree in engineering, my master's engineering, and then I got a master's of entrepreneurship, innovation, engineering, innovation, entrepreneurship, and then a PhD. The PhD, the funny thing is, it was from the engineering department. It didn't have a single equation or number in it. It was all qualitative research. And I do remember one of the committee members, he hated me, like he had to pass me, but he hated me, the idea that I'm disrespecting engineering because I don't have any equation in it. It was an eye-opening experience. And you will understand now why I mentioned that story. So basically, today we're gonna go quickly. I don't want to make it's gonna look boring and the agenda and stuff like that, but we're not gonna go the same pace. But I think there are certain things, concept, if we establish them, things will make more sense afterwards. And it will make, I'm not saying afterwards and later in the session, but while you're pursuing your startup. And really, my goal today is getting you thinking in the right direction. As entrepreneurs, you're gonna figure out things for yourself. I guess if we share tools for you, the more entrepreneurial you are, you're gonna tailor it, change it, find something else for yourself. So part of it is it's part of the DNA of an entrepreneur. However, it's about the mentality, the basic principles, and that's what I would like to talk about a little bit today. So without further delay, and I'm gonna be watching, I will have a look at the chat. I would like to hear from you, actually here, if you don't mind unmuting yourself. What is a startup for you? Hello?
If anybody has an answer for it, you guys can just unmute yourselves or maybe throw your answer in the chat box.
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Raheem. In my opinion, a startup is like a fresh company, obviously trying to scale. I think, of course, having entrepreneurship qualities, but also people who are willing to take risks and obviously start at the bottom, get seed capital, and obviously scale from there and just grow the organization. So that's kind of my definition of a startup.
Okay, who else?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Luis. I would like to not define, but I would say that a startup is a process, and as a process, it varies how it begins, how you continue managing the project that you have on hand, and eventually trying to get as much as help of financial investors and angels investors and people who relates to the industry that you're looking for and build your project. So personally, I would think that it's a process, and as a process, you're also trying to design and conceive the best ways and practices to achieve the final goal. It would be either a service or a product.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Luis. Anyone else?
In my opinion, a startup is a company that has yet to figure out what its business model is.
Okay, and you are, what's your name?
Paul.
So, Paul, I like your answer. I'm not saying it is the right answer. It's just close to my answer. So basically, there is no wrong definition. It's not that it's well defined. We're not talking about a unit here. People can say there are many definitions, and they will keep refining and changing them. Since 1930, when a big economist used the word entrepreneurship, it starts changing the word. And every generation, you'll come up with new definition. But I think something that we have to agree on, that's a startup always is seeking to be a company, at least the resources and so on and so forth, the security. Maybe, of course, they like to keep the culture of a startup or the innovation, but the reality of the matter, you want to reach a level, as Paul mentioned, that you have a repeatable business model. The difference between startup and an existing business, you know that you can repeat it. You know the channel, you know the margin, you know where to sell, you know who is the customer, how much the customer is willing to pay for your service or product. Startup is not there. So even it exists, so it's not about how long the company existed. It's about, do you have a repeatable, and if we're talking about tech-based companies and companies that's going to seek venture capitalist money, scalable business model. Does this make sense? So whatever we are doing, you have to understand, you are in that phase of temporary trying things with one goal, is reaching certainty, reaching something that can be repeated and scalable if you're seeking investment. So this is key, and so there are few key words here: temporary, repeatable, and search. And in the case of venture capitalist, also scalable. So a startup aims to become a business. So entrepreneurship here, it is this continuous iteration and using resources, people, and a lot of circles and looping around to take advantage of an opportunity to create value. When I'm asked about the definition of entrepreneurship, I always answer, depend on where I am. So for example, if I'm in Europe, they would like to use a word about novel ways of creating value, especially if you're not talking to business people. So as you can see, there is nothing about economy, there is nothing about business or a company even. It's about a novel way of creating values. And then some people will add, for perceived by others, because you can create value, you believe it's value, but part of entrepreneurship, it's perceived by others. Here in North America, usually it's related to business, sometimes for profit, not for profit. We use social entrepreneurship or not, but the idea, usually the focus is on a company, and the idea is you reach financial sustainability, and if it's for profit, is basically creating value to your customers and also to the founders and the investors. So with that understanding that entrepreneurship, it's the idea of taking an opportunity and move it and create value out of it. It looks, so entrepreneurship has existed forever, for thousands of years. My focus today is to share a kind of a methodology with you that supposedly increase the chances of success. And this process, I think most probably because some of you started already their companies, is the lean startup methodology. And trust me, I'm not here. All this is an intro to evaluating the opportunity. So please bear with me, even if you have read the book, still please bear with me, because I want to focus on a specific point here. So the lean startup methodology was founded by two people, Eric Ries and Stephen Blank. Stephen Blank he invested in Eric Ries' startup. He was a co-founder in a company. So let's talk about Stephen Blank. Stephen Blank is a guru who started 8 companies. I think either 4 or 6 went public, made huge amount of money for himself and others, and then decided to retire in Silicon Valley, I think in the early 2000s. Young, smart, did everything. He started reflecting on his experience. Why did he fail sometimes and succeed sometimes? Why sometimes startups succeed and sometimes they fail? He couldn't find an answer. He didn't know what, even about himself, why this one was successful and that one not. So he started over a few years talking to every founder he knows, and he knows everyone in Silicon Valley, and he can talk to anyone he wants to talk to. He talked not only with the successful one, he talked also with the people who failed. And he came up with this methodology and some kind of curve that I am going to share with you. The key concept in this is that a startup is a temporary organization trying to become a company, and that you are in the mood of searching for that, as Paul mentioned, the repeatable and successful business model. For people who don't have business background, think about the business model. What are you offering someone, and how you're offering it, how you're going to reach that person, and what are they willing to give you in return? It's kind of how you're exchanging the value with your customer or with your end user. So the lean start. So after doing research and doing a lot of things, he found that startups go through 4 stages. Also, before I forgot, around 2000, something big happened. There was something called the dot-com bubble. So investors, there is an opportunity, the internet, they threw billions of dollars, and suddenly a bubble happened. Everything crashed in 2000. All this investment went out of the door. And they didn't understand what's wrong. We had scientists, experts coming with business plans and telling us that's a good idea. What did we do wrong? It did make sense. We are hiring the best graduates of Stanford and Berkeley and MIT. So experts telling us this is the right technology, it's going to solve that problem, and that's the future. So why did we fail? Why we lost billions of dollars? So there was a trigger for what Stephen Blank did here. So what he came up with, as you can see here, that a venture goes through 4 stages, assuming that it went through everything and became successful. And we're gonna go through now these 4 stages quickly. And I bet you most of you are either in stage 1, based on the answers, of course, or even pre-stage 1. Like even stage 1 here for Stephen Blank is a little bit more advanced than if you have an idea only, you don't have a team, just idea in your mind, you're actually far pre-stage 1 as well, just to understand where this curve is coming from. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna go quickly through these 4 stages, and I will focus more in the first one. So the first thing, in the beginning, in the first stage, and we call that customer discovery, it's pure entrepreneurship. This means pure search, pure random. You're not certain about anything. You're trying to understand, you're trying to collect information. That the focus. And as you can see, because of that, you're just, when you look at the cash flow, you're just bleeding money. So again, that's the curve of most of the successful tech-based startups that wants to raise VC money. I'm talking about specifically these ones. Or you think about it as the ones, if you're coming with something novel, people didn't hear about, you will be bleeding money. And then going to stage 2, you're gonna start understand what the customer wants. You're gonna come up with assumptions. Maybe you start building initial product or service, very limited. and maybe you can find lead users, 5, 6 of your friends that can use it. Just think about the example of Airbnb. When there was one conference, there is one apartment that they use it for testing. They got an Excel, call people, oh yes, you want to rent, oh come here, something like that. Or Amazon, when Jeff Bezos used to, again, get the orders, drive him himself, pack everything by himself. That's in phase 2, validation. He understands what people are willing to do, what they want, and he started testing. He's not really a profitable company, but he's not only bleeding. He started to validate his business model. He started getting customer to pay. That's stage 2. So you see, stage 2, you started focusing. You started focusing, but you're really dealing with lead users. You're dealing with visionary people. Actually, in stage 1, your focus is to find these people. Stage 2, you're being strategic. And usually you are going to go after the low-hanging fruit, leaders. The whole idea after that is in stage 3, you started understanding, you started targeting the mainstream. You started building a system. You now understand who's your customer, how much is going to cost the channel. You see, in stage 1 and 2, you're trying things that might not scale. You're calling your friends, right? You're going after the alumni of last year. If you're learning, hiring, or recruiting, you're talking to your friends. You're reaching one university, and this university will help you because you graduated from it. So again, you're not ready for system building. You're trying things just to validate. Would people buy it or not? Would people pay for what I'm offering or not? Stage 3 is when you start building. Again, that's far advanced, not our focus. And then stage 4, when you're building a cooperation. So reality of the matter, your role, the role of the entrepreneur, is visioning the future into the present. Your role is leading with the uncertainty and the de-risking. Your role is to raise the money when you are in the red curve. Your role is to start hiring the right people in stage 3. Your role in stage 4 may be that you leave the company and maybe you continue with it. Actually, in most of the time, the founder doesn't continue. And one funny example actually is Steve Jobs with Apple. If you watch Steve Jobs' interviews after he came back to Apple, he will tell you, I wasn't ready to be the CEO of a company. He himself did that, actually. He hired the person who fired him. So sometimes, and this is the same thing with Google, with most of the companies. Again, I would like to clarify that, for example, Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk and the others, those are the exception. There are far more entrepreneurs and startups all around us. So even the skills needed in the beginning, dealing with the uncertainty, the randomness, this 24/7 run and rush, that's different than the system building. That's when there is certainty. So again, just to clarify this part. And again, every slide I'm going to remind you, we are in stage 1. We have no idea about anything. We are trying to discover. We're search mode. So the difference between what's happening since this guy, Steve Blank and Eric Ries, wrote that book, The Lean Startup, which is, I think, in 2010 or something like that, that in the old days, as I mentioned, it was about an expert. If an expert, someone with a PhD came and said, I know this is going to happen, that's the best you can do. Someone is going to give them the money. They wrote the full business plan. They know exactly how many salesperson they need to hire, how they're going to reach the customer. Guess what? These all are guesses. It's well-educated guesses, smart guesses, if you like those people. But in the end of the day, it's actually what they missed, the investors. And most importantly, the founders themselves, that these are guesses. When I ask you today about the basketball, I would argue that last year, if I asked the question, who's going to win the NBA, the educated guess most probably will be Warriors. But it's a guess. You're expert. You're part of the Warriors. You're part of. It's a guess. In the end of the day, it's guess. And maybe that's even not a good example. Even if the odds are high, even it's a common sense, it's a guess. If it's not a fact, it's an educated guess. So the difference between pre-2010 and after 2010 is what we found out. What Stephen Blank found out, that when he was successful, when his focus was discovery, not execution. So his first startup failed, the second succeeded, and then later on he failed. When investors gave him the money easy, when the people who he worked with decided that, oh, we know the facts, we don't need to discover, let's execute, let's hire the salespeople, we know what we're doing, he failed. So again, and the discovery, you have to keep guessing and test, guess and test. And that's why I'm going to touch on something called business model canvas that can help you with the guessing. The testing is some activity that you have to go and do yourself, and that will be the focus of another topic, not today, another day, not today. So again, think about your startup. You are in search mode. You find what is the business model, the lead users, and that's only half of it. If you couldn't transition to customer creation, if you couldn't transition to the mainstream, you are going to fail. You are going to fail. Many examples here. I mean, I don't want to open a lot of discussion. Maybe that's one of the reasons that BlackBerry failed. Even though it's not really failure, they focus on only one customer segment. But the idea of they didn't go to the mainstream. They stayed with the CEOs. They didn't think that even kids who are 12 years old will have smartphones in their hands. Now, all this introduction, before I proceed, any question? So Yasmina, thank you about sharing the link. Anyway, I'm going to continue, and we'll have. I hope we'll have more chance for answering questions later, and I will be able also to check the Google Sheet. Now, so the title is Evaluating the Opportunity. Great. Opportunity for what? You have to ask yourself that question first. Opportunity for what? To make money? To solve a problem? To impress someone? It's opportunity for what? Because it's different. So our focus today is on evaluating a business opportunity, an opportunity to start a business. That's my focus. Because in these things, you are taking into consideration profit, raising money, and so on and so forth. If someone is looking for like social innovation, you try to solve the problem, different tools. So you have to understand when you're looking at something, are you looking for impact? Are you doing it for money or for passion? I always tell people, if you're doing it for the money, there are easier ways than starting up a tech-based company. There are jobs that pay you higher and the chance of success are higher. More importantly, typically when you don't have resources and building a team, people will be inspired by your passion, your drive, what you're trying to do. They will not be inspired by making you a little bit richer. So you have to be careful in why you're doing what you're doing. Now, all of us are looking for the perfect idea. The perfect idea. You want an opportunity that have no capital. It can quickly achieve positive cash flow, meet your principles, expectation about money and impact, all this good stuff. But it doesn't exist. There is no way. If it's that obvious and it's a certain opportunity, existing companies with crazy resources are going to pursue it. So actually being a startup and to be able to compete, usually you're going after something novel that is actually crazy for existing companies to pursue. Too crazy, because it's hard for them to pivot, to change. And that's actually your competitive advantage, because you can be random, you can be dynamic, you can move faster. So you have to understand, you're never gonna get an opportunity with all these things already clear from the beginning. So the first thing we would like to establish, don't keep looking for the perfect idea. Think about your passion, why you're doing what you're doing, and then you have to start taking action. So as we mentioned at the Lean Customer Discovery, the first thing is discovery. What we're looking for is primary market research, going and talking to people. Okay. I'm going to start now moving to actually the focus of the lecture today. So I always like to get, I think it has to do with my engineering background. I like frameworks. I like step 1, step 2, step 3, even though I know there is a lot of feedback loops. There is, I will have to try and there will be a lot of trial and error. But in the end of the day, I like the idea of having a list and checking it. Again, I'm not an entrepreneur myself, so I can be like that. So one of the ways of evaluating the opportunity, and this is very high level, is thinking about those 3 items. Like it's things that I heard from different people, and I will take you through them right now. Most of the companies, the number one reason for tech-based companies failing is actually there was no right market. There was no something expression called no product market fit. No product market fit. So for example, again, using the examples of the scientist and Segway, this thing that this thing that you drive, I don't know what it looks like, and it just went bankruptcy. It looked amazing, everyone believed in it, but really there is no customer discovery done, and it didn't address any needs, real need. It was fancy, it was fun, it was novel, but really it was visionary leaders, people who like toys. It never really solved, addressed certain customer need or market need. The second thing is the personal fit test. Does it fit with you as a person or not? At that age, with the experience that you have right now. And it depends on many things. Sometimes it will depend on your principles. It's gonna depend on the market you're going after, how credible you will be at whatever stage of your life. It's about, I need something that will be positive cash flow in 2 years. I cannot go with something 6, 7, 8 years. So maybe you need to check off anything related to health. I mean, again, pharmaceuticals, forget about health now. In normal times, working with universities, like a sales cycle, a typical sales cycle, if you want to make a deal with the university for any of the softwares you guys see while you're studying, it takes a couple of years. Actually, implementing some of our, after we agree and do everything, so it takes 2 years to figure out, sign a contract, and then 2 years to implement. Long cycle. And when you check that, either you're gonna say, okay, it doesn't fit me, or you're gonna say, I understand now I have to raise a lot of money if I'm going after selling B2B to universities. Also, there is, as you can see in front of you, if you are going for that as a business, there is the economic test. Sometimes you can solve the problem, someone's problem, but that will not make it sustainable business. That will not make it sustainable business. If the cost of creating the solution is more than what the customer is willing to pay for, you're not going to be able to grow. If the market is too small, and for you to develop the product, you need a lot of investment, huge investment, then there is no economic fit. It can still solve a problem. It can be very much aligned with your personality and you have the right team. But in the end of the day, if customers are not willing to pay for that value today, it's very hard for you to become successful, or you'll have to raise a lot of resources, or you have to pivot or drop it. So these are the three things in very high level in that order. Okay, what I'm suggesting, that order that I would like you to look at. And I have seen people doing it both ways. So I have seen an entrepreneur who's passionate about certain idea and then build a team. And I have seen a team, they agree on principles and then go after the demand. But typically it starts that way. And again, because most of the startups fail because of the product market fit, the rest of today will be focusing on the market test, how we can evaluate that part, the market. So when we're saying about that, we're talking about searching for the product market fit. If you're not addressing a real customer pain, a real one, and we're going to talk about that in a second, your chances of success are very low. What do I mean by real customer pain? You come and tell me, if you give me chance to whine or complain, tell me, what do you think of this COVID? Tell me any question. You give me chance to complain and whine about what's going wrong in life, I will start talking. Forget about that. If you came and told me, imagine if I got you a small device that will not get, no raccoons will come, or rabbits or bunnies will come close to your lawn, and it will cost you $5. In my mind, that's crazy. But if you didn't ask me for money, I'm gonna say yes, sure, blah blah blah, even though I really didn't make a decision. Just think about it yourself. Many times when people come and push you, would you be interested in this, would you be interested in that, the easiest way is to tell them, yeah, sure, give me a call tomorrow, or pass by me tomorrow, or something like that. Oh yeah, looks great. When you go and tell people, what do you think of my idea? The minute you said, you mentioned my idea, you're gonna get a biased feedback. Either someone who doesn't like you or like you. It's either gonna be good or bad based on the relation with you. Very, very rare that you're gonna get an objective feedback. So what is real customer pain? If you go to talk to someone and he will tell you, I have this problem. Your second question, how are you trying to solve this problem? If the person is telling you nothing, that's when you start, oh, is it a real customer pain or not? So that's what usually you get. Now, sometimes people will tell you no, but again, there will, especially in Canada, people are nice. If you're young and student and you're going to ask people want you to feel good about yourself. A good answer, or an answer you're looking for, is someone is telling you, yeah, I hacked a solution. I had to go to that place to buy a piece, and then the other place to buy a piece, and then I had to spend my weekend putting those two pieces together, and now I have a solution. And you know what? I have to do it all over again next year. If someone is taking action to solve the problem, that's what we call real customer pain. And actually, those people are not the mainstream. Those are the visionaries. Those are the people who will be willing to take a risk with your prototype or expression. Again, based on the podcast, you'll find something called MVP, minimum viable product. So you need to think about these things. What is real customer pain? All the other things are based on you. So maybe there is a small market. If you can develop, if it ended up that you find that the target market is small or doesn't have a long term, If you're not raising funds from outside, you can decide if you want to do it or not. That's your choice. However, if you're going after venture capitalists, there are certain expectations, and you'll have to think about the medium and the long term. Again, it's all about real customer pain. Even here, the slides, this is the slide, and what I'm sharing with you is to guide you to start sending different direction and ask different questions. Reality of a matter, if there are competitors, then there is no customer pain. Then already there are products. Of course, except if someone told you, oh yes, we need it to be 10 times cheaper. But if that's the case, how the competitor is selling? Are you coming up with something completely different than your competitor? Maybe then you have a chance. If you can change the rules of the game, meaning if you can offer the same thing, you're offering a product that can solve the customer pain at 10 times cheaper than your competitor, then you have something. 10 times cheaper. Or maybe 5 times. It's not going to be if it's a couple of dollars cheaper, because they don't know you and why they should take a risk. Okay? You also, this is again, it's impacted by my engineering background, is if you think if you are a technical guy and you have a technical solution, I strongly encourage you to check if there are any patents blocking you. So I'm not even telling you go and file your patent right away. I'm telling you, just be careful. Maybe that patent exists already. So one of my colleagues, when I was taking the master's program, was working in a health product, medical device. After a year, and there is no way around that, after a year of working on it, and he did invention disclosure, he found out there was a patent issued, came public. So it was provisional and it was hidden for a year, and then suddenly it showed up when he was ready to write his business plan. So there was a patent blocking him by a company, big company, Medtronic. So now, if a big company with the resources and the patent blocking you, even if that person decided to change a little bit the technical product so that come up with a new patent, he will not find an investor who's willing to work with him, because first of all, the idea is not patentable. And now we know for sure that a big company with big resources already is going after this opportunity and investing in it. So again, if you have no passion and your goal is to make money, you can drop and find another idea. If you're passionate about certain thing, this, by the way, give an indication that the problem is for real. And then you can pivot or make some changes to find the product market fit. So it's not one-time trial thing. It's not when you see a block or obstacle or you hear an answer that you don't like, you stop. In that case, you're never going to start anything. The feedback loop and going back and forth, and one day you're feeling I can save the world, and the second day I have nothing. As an entrepreneur, you're going to go through it. You're going to go through the ups and downs. Of course, if your personality is not that kind, it will be good. But actually, you need the passion, or you're going to be emotional. You're investing your life in it. So you're going to go through ups and downs. And the passion will keep you going. If you're motivated only by money, when you're down, if you're really smart, if you're really good, someone is going to offer you an amazing job and you're going to leave everything. So again, passion is a big thing. Now, so when we talk about a market and solving a problem, right away you have to think about something called value proposition. A value proposition. Basically, it's a statement that describe the benefits customer can expect from your product or service. I'm getting the definition from, I think, the book of the business model canvas. So That's the value proposition. So let's see an example of that. Clear statement telling your customer what are the tangible results that they're going to get from your service. The more specific, the better you are. So if you, I would like to see your answers in the chat. If I told you I have the most advanced, I'm offering you the most advanced laptop in Canada to do your work with, would that be strong value proposition or not? Okay, Yasmina saying yes. Who else? Okay, Rulo saying no. Guys, keep it going. Okay. Awesome. So Yasmina, would you mind telling us why you said yes?
Sure, I think it depends on who your target audience is. If your target audience is maybe like, let's say, underserved students who can't afford the most tech savvy things, then that is absolutely a value proposition for them.
Why?
If that's kind of what they want.
I'm not sure. So is your dream is to have the most advanced laptop?
I don't think I would define myself in that audience.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking that is because if you dig deeper, there is someone who wants to brag about that I have the most advanced product. So this guy is gonna get tangible result, bragging right. But if someone offered me the most advanced laptop, can you tell me what is the benefit I'm gonna get out of it? I mean, especially that I'm in the basement, cannot see anyone in these times. What benefit I'm gonna get with the most advanced laptop?
I guess you'd have to kind of go into the details of the technology associated to it.
I think, Yasmin, even if you told me the technical things, if I'm not gonna get benefits out of it, why would I care? So let me change that. If I targeted engineering students and I told him, using this most powerful laptop, you will be able to finish you're gonna save 2 hours every day in simulation or work or whatever. And this person actually worked these 2 hours. So suddenly I'm giving him a laptop that allow him to make whatever money he or she can make in 2 hours every day. Right? So if I told that person, I'm offering you a laptop that will allow you to make $500 extra a week, would you guys think that this is a strong value proposition? Yeah, better. Because we talked about specific, tangible results. We didn't describe our product. I didn't come, it's slick, it's the easiest to use. I'm telling that guy, you'll be able to finish everything in 1 minute. You're gonna be able to, if you're talking business to business, anyone who's targeting business, B2B, you're selling to an organization, it's about money. Everything has to translate to money. Everything. Even if you're saying, oh, this will improve the morale of your employees, you have to say which will, your retention will get better and you will save X amount of money in the recruitment and hiring every year. If your value proposition, you're only talking about what you developed, I don't care. You have to convince me that what you developed, what is the value it's creating for me specifically. These ones are tangible. You should be able to quantify them. So in the early stage, so right now, if I ask any of you about your idea, one of you will tell me, yeah, I believe I can increase the revenue. I can double the revenue. Fine and good. So your current value proposition that I don't believe is that your product will allow me to double my revenues. Guess what's your next step? Go and validate that. Can you really do that or not? More importantly, would people willing to pay for your service if you double the revenue? Are they willing to try something new? Do they have capital? So you come up with an assumption about the value proposition, and you have to go and you're going to talk with that customer or that student. How are you balancing between work and study? Oh man, it's a problem. I have opportunity to work. I just can't. I'm working in my final project. I have this thing. It's a nightmare. I make one change and I have to wait for 1 day or for 2 hours in front of the computer waiting for the results. And you, okay, but you can leave it for 2 hours and do something else. No, I have to stay because I have to do blah, 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 or whatever. That's the discovery. You didn't go and ask one question. Oh, do you want to buy this or not? Buy. No. Especially in the beginning, when you are in the discovery mode, you're going to go to all your friends and you're going to tell them, how do you make decision about the laptop? When, how? Where do you look for laptops? So let's say we are in stage 3 and we're ready to sell and you're targeting students. Did you ask them in the first day, where do they buy the laptop from? Where do they look for deals so that you can then use that channel later on in your venture? These are the things. So this is quick example here about strong and weak value proposition. This is the first step. The first step is your ability in 10 words to describe why should someone buy your product or service. That value proposition has to be very specific to your audience and your customer segment. Easy to understand. The shorter, the better. Irrefutable. If people can challenge you, if people can tell you, but in that case, it will be blah, blah, blah. If they proved you wrong, you lost your credibility. You're already young. You're already coming with something new. They already have to take a risk if they buy from you. So you give them a chance to challenge you and prove you're wrong. You lose credibility. So the starting point for any of you, if you have an idea, think about how in one paragraph, 10 words is better. You can tell me which customer will buy what from you and what the benefit they're going to get from you. Okay? So let's go back to your role. What's your role as an entrepreneur? Really, you don't have to be the inventor. You don't have to be the investor. It's about the person who will identify the key guesses, the right ones, and he's gonna go use all possible resources to validate them. In the beginning, the entrepreneur will use gut feelings. But if it's always gut feeling, it's very hard for you to move forward. It's about gut feeling, validating that gut feeling. More people believe in you, more people invest in you. So that's the first one. And then they invest in you. You have the right ability to manage the limited resources. Hopefully they will keep growing, and it will give you a chance to exploit the opportunity. Our focus today is, again, the key guesses you need to validate. So when you're telling me evaluating the opportunity, my answer is come up with the key guesses and go validate them. If you got the answers you're expecting, you have a good opportunity. You didn't get the answers you're expecting, no, you have to pivot. Now, sounds easy, but it's not. So right after the lean startup methodology came, and books published, and it's now a revolution, and they're going in. It's getting outdated actually, but I like the concept, the customer focus. They said, okay, we're gonna create something called business model canvas. This business model canvas allow you to capture your guesses. Allow you to capture your guesses. That's one of the uses, or that was the first use of it. And then your job is to go and validate these different blocks. To go and validate these. And I'm not going to cover the business model canvas today. It will take an hour, another extra hour. But that can be starting point. So it's intentionally not a business plan, because I don't want you to put a lot of your sometimes educated, sometimes uneducated guesses, or if I want to be more liberal, but I'm being recorded, your BS. Don't spend days and weeks writing business plan. Put it in bullet form here. It's very obvious in your eye, in front of you, in your eye, and go and validate. The more you write and the definitions get bigger, you miss the most important thing. You miss the essence of your idea. So its starting point can be, as you can see on the right side, customer segment and the value proposition on the middle. And I am going to share, I'm not sure if Cleo will be, if she's sharing the slides with you or not, but I am happy to, we're going to check how we can follow up. I'm sharing here a lot of links where you can go and learn more about the business model canvas. But quickly going through it, the whole idea of the business model canvas is you start on the right side. You start on the right side. You say, who's the customer? So that will be block 1. And then you go to the value proposition. So each customer segment, tell me what is the value proposition. So you can have, for example, smartphone. For a dad, for a CEO, the value proposition is different than a grandma who's not working, is different than an athlete, a kid, a coach. So you're targeting certain customer segment, and you will say what is the value proposition. And then please tell me, how do you believe you're going to reach the customer? So you can answer, oh, Facebook. I'm going to go door to door. I'm going to hire salespeople, whatever. Think about how you're keeping your relation with customers. So, you know what? I'm going to create a loyalty point system. Fine. And then come on the right side and say, my assumptions are that people will be willing to pay X amount of money. Fine and good. I mean, you're coming up with something new. So really, your guess is as good as any guess. Your guess is as good as any guess. Hopefully that will keep getting better. So your guess should be better than others after a little bit. So as you can see on the right side, we described the value. The value is to who's getting the value, how he's getting the value, or how she's getting the value, how much they are willing to pay for the value. Fine and good. Let's go to the left side. It's about how you're going to deliver on that value. So what the key activities your company is going to do: research, development, building things, manufacturing, research, R&D. What are the key activities? And think about then what are the key resources that you must own in your company to allow you to deliver on the key activities. And then no one can do everything by himself or herself. So what are the partnerships you need to strike to complement the key resources that you have? Who will help you? So you need to do the activities. Some of them you'll be able to do them. Sometimes you're going to partner. That partner can be the channel. That partner can be the manufacturer. That partner can be the one doing the R&D, right? So My key activities R&D, but I don't have R&D facilities, so I am partnering with Ryerson iBest Institute, which is have a partnership itself with San Michael if I'm in healthcare. And then in the bottom, you're looking for the cost structure, and you basically saying, to run these activities, how much is going to cost me? All this in bullet form. You can spend 5 minutes doing that. You can spend 5 years doing that. 5 years, you wasted 5 years of your life thinking about guesses. I would strongly advise you to go and play chess. Don't pursue entrepreneurship. You do it in 5 minutes. Your guesses, you don't know enough. And basically, maybe the people you're going to talk with are not going to be the right target audience. And you'll be asking the wrong questions. And I want you just to compare. If you didn't spend some time doing Google and search online and things like this, even if you're coming up with completely novel idea, you need to do that. You will be missing information. So imagine you go and try to schedule an interview with a customer and talk with the customer and so on and so forth, and it's going to cost you a few hours and few days. And actually, in 5 minutes, with the right research, Google the right keywords, you will have your answer. So my advice when people doing the business model canvas, it's not a research paper. The more novel you are, the more there is no information available online. Come up with your best story and then go quickly and validate. So every single person you identified in the customer segment, go and talk with them. And guess what? If you need to talk with one doctor, I need you to understand that you're going to need to send to around 100 doctors to get one to answer to you. And that's not bad. Yeah, just to give you an idea, that's not bad. The good thing is, if you're in the right track, your second 100 email will land you 50 interviews. And then after that, every time you send, people are getting back to you because now you understand what they're looking for. You understand what are the words that will get their attention. Okay? So this, I'm telling you a lot of stories here. So I was trying to explain to you throughout the presentation that as a startup in the early stage, your job is to do research. Search for the right business model. Search for the right business model. Another expression, what is the right product market fit? The activity is customer discovery. Two things here. Please, when you are doing that, the customer discovery, please, 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 don't try to sell. I want you to imagine if someone came and told you, I have an amazing idea. It's awesome. Or forget about, he didn't tell me, or she didn't tell me that this is her idea. So she came to me and told me, I have this amazing idea. What do you, this idea came through someone and blah, blah, blah. What do you think of it? So my answer is, bad idea. So she will start telling me, you're not getting it. You are not getting, you're not smart enough. If you only imagine tomorrow at 5 p.m. when it's raining, you will have a huge need. You have to buy my product, otherwise you're dumb. So what do you think my answer will be? You're right. Amazing. Pass by me tomorrow. I promise I'm gonna buy it from you. You don't want to listen. You should have asked me, but how you're dealing with this problem? Why it's not problem for you? Your job in the first stage is research, search, understand, don't sell. After the first 50, 60 interviews, maybe towards the end, you will be asking questions like, what if? What if I have this software that can do this, this, and that? And your dream, your goal, if someone told you, where is that? Can you show it to me? imagine if you didn't mention anything about your product and service, and all what happened is suddenly you're saying, yes, I am group of students, we're considering something like that. So remember when I said real, when I said people, what is, if someone answered you, oh, but what you have, when do you think is going to be ready? Then you definitely have a real market need. I am going to go, these are a few videos. I'm going to go through a couple of them now here. Here are YouTube videos. I put many of them long, short, to different tastes. So please go through them. Here are related to customer discovery. And I'm sharing here things related to doing it in COVID times. I'm sharing how you can do some hacks. So, for example, there are tips and tricks, like, for example, I remember hearing a speaker telling me I used to, his target customers were lawyers. He will always call them after 5 or 4:30, because this means that they will have to answer the office phones themselves. No one is taking the phone other than them. But that's, of course, that's in the old days. But my point is, there are tricks how to send a cold email. So please have a look at these things. Some of you are going to use it, sometime not. And I hope any one of you who come up with a new idea or hack for customer discovery to share it with us and others. Also, there is an amazing book called Testing with Customers and Talking to Customers. It's for free. It's an amazing book that will help you understand how to come up with the key assumption and guesses. It will help you understand how you can find them, where to find them, and how to speak to them, how to prepare yourself for the interview, and how to follow up on the interview afterwards. So these are the slides and the resources. Just to clarify my point, I'm going to be running a couple of videos here, if you guys don't mind. But before I do that, because the links exist, Cleo, are we good with time, or?
Yeah, Carrie, keep on keeping on.
Thanks, Cleo. Yasmina, you're amazing. So she shared with you the book already, and you will find that you can, university and student, I think they can download it for free. Thank you, Yasmina. So let's go with assuming you know. Let me find the video. Sure. So now I have to go to this place, and I will say, sorry guys, I'm a little bit rusty because of being not teaching for more than a month now. So I'm gonna show now screen 2, share. So I'm gonna play the video now. I hope we will be good with the audio.
So one of the traps of customer development is getting out of the building, assuming you understand the problem. And that's bad in general, but it gets a lot worse when you assume you understand the problem and you're talking to people who actually do have the problem, and you end up sounding like an idiot. So let's see an example of that.
Thanks for meeting with me today. So I know that you're looking for toys that you can spend more time with your daughter playing. And we've designed this great toy that lets you do that. You can play with her and have fun, and you can teach her about building and circuits. So what do you think? Well, actually, that's not the kind of toy I'm looking for. I like toys that she can play with by herself because I'm pretty busy. I don't want to be showing her how to do every single step along the way. I have other things that I need to do.
So I'm going to continue that video. Imagine if you came to me and you told me I have an amazing idea. I'm allowing mothers to spend more time with their kids playing. I want you just to imagine if my answer to you is maybe it's not a good idea. you're gonna hate me. It's common sense. Mothers like to spend time with kids. It's common sense. So again, I'm not saying this one feedback. Maybe you're gonna get better understanding now. Maybe you understand that single mothers, you shouldn't target single mother. Maybe you need certain age, certain income. But my point here, the reason I'm using that video is the assumption that the entrepreneur came up with, and he assumed it's a fact, not an assumption. It's not a guess. They went there and they're asking the customers, you want to spend time with your mom, with your kid. They didn't approach it at discovery. They didn't ask the questions properly. So let's get an idea how we can do it a little bit better.
Oh. Thanks for meeting with me today. So I just wanted to kind of understand a little more about your needs and with your daughter and the toys that she plays with. So I was wondering how you and your daughter play with toys together.
Well, we don't actually play with toys together that often. So on a typical day, I come home from work, I'm chilling at home, I'm not always doing every single activity with her.
Can you walk me through the last time you bought a toy for your daughter?
Yes, so I heard about a toy.
Can you tell me about the last time you bought a toy for your daughter's friend's birthday party?
Well, actually, I buy all the toys for birthday parties.
Can you tell me what you and your daughter do after school when she gets home?
So my daughter does homework at the kitchen table.
Can you tell me about how your daughter...
It's gonna get boring, but you guys got the point, right? Any question about this video? Okay, so I'm gonna keep moving.
One of the great things about entrepreneurs is they passionately believe in what they're building or doing at any time. And so the DNA just drives you to want to get out of the building and show people exactly what you're doing, because you implicitly believe, just implicitly, that you understand not only their problem, but because you implicitly understand their problem, you know exactly what to build. And the only problem you're going to have after you show it to people is you're thinking that you're hoping that your company has a big enough room for you to put all the bags of money that are going to come. It turns out that as much as you believe that, it never happens that way. Because what you have on day one is nothing more than a series of untested hypotheses. And that's just a fancy way for saying you're guessing about most of the things about your startup. You're guessing about pricing. You're guessing about who the customers are. You're guessing about what features they want. This guess about customers and features is called product market fit. And the odds are, while you think you believe, you're more than likely wrong. And therefore, instead of just telling people about your product or just shoving a demo in front of their faces, what you really want to do is to get out, be quiet, and understand their problem and understand how they solve it today.
Well, Dr. Lim, thanks for giving me a little bit of your time. As I mentioned on the phone, we're working on something that is very cool, and I think you'll find very interesting. But before we get into that, I really don't know much about the types of research that you're doing and where this might fit into it. So I really want to ask you some questions about the job that you're doing, the research that you're doing, how you're using in vitro platforms, and where cells integrate into that.
Sure.
So maybe just to start with, could you tell me a little bit about the research that you're doing here?
Yeah. So I'm the Chief Scientific Officer at Excel. We're basically looking at tumor cells. What we do is we take the tumor biopsy and then we try to culture individual cells on petri dishes.
Right. So could you tell me a little bit about some of the challenges that you've encountered, maybe in particular with in vitro systems?
Yeah, well, the cell-based assays are quite poor. A lot of the experiments are quite challenging.
Great. And can you talk a little bit more about maybe some unmet needs that you have with regard to cell-based models in particular?
Yeah, and we talked about this. I think one of the biggest sort of pain points for us is handling of the cells. We would really like a lot of cells. The ability to sort of grow up these cells would be very, very appealing.
What else should I have asked you today?
Well, that's. I think the key thing is a lot of researchers really want to get access to preclinical specimens, and so if you have the ability to guarantee that these cells are plastic in their behavior, I think that would be extremely powerful.
That's great. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time today.
My pleasure.
Okay, let's play the last one.
When you first start discovery, you'll probably be like me when I first started. I actually would go in and hold the list of questions to myself, going down the list, making sure I asked all the questions the same way to all the customers. But after you get more comfortable in discovery, it becomes a lot more fun. Because this time, you'll let the conversation flow where it's going to go, making sure you cover the key parts about tell me about your company and tell me about how you do your job and what kind of pricing, but you won't be so rigid about what order you ask them. And that's when some of the interesting things come out is a potential customer might say, yeah, this is kind of important. And after you've asked this question a lot, you might say, yeah, but it looks like you're trying to tell me something else. Yeah, well, listen, it doesn't seem like you guys are solving anything like this, but boy, if you could solve this problem, we'd pay $1 million for that. Let me tell you, $1 million, you got my attention. What is that problem? That's a great way to eventually let the conversations go where they want to go. 90% of the time, that was a waste of time. But it's that 10% you're looking for that turns Groupon from the pizza company into the $1 billion company, or ODO into Twitter. Those are the insights you're looking for.
So how hard is starting up a company? It turned out that even Groupon didn't turn to find a repeatable, scalable business model. So I would like now I will start going through the questions. Again, the videos are going to be shared. And you can, all these videos, the one that in the slide, are coming from VentureWell website. It's called, just search LLP videos VentureWell, and you'll be able to find huge list of videos that you can watch in your own time. So I'm gonna go quickly through the questions, and then I have something else to mention. Oh, so clear. As a startup that only makes patents, how do you evaluate the company, and how do you add more value to the company? So if I understand the questions, you're saying that your company is kind of R&D that produce patents, and there are certain recipient to that. It's an interesting business model. So if there is a focus in certain industry, or you're focused in certain customer segment, or you're generalist. I have seen a couple of teams of students doing that, and actually you have competitors, or maybe you have a customer. So actually there are companies and law firms that all what they're doing is to buy patents, and then they package them together and either start a company or sell them to big company. So the idea of trading patents, grouping patents together, it's actually a big market. So the evaluation of the company, of course, there is a lot of uncertainty here because there is no predictability, there is no certainty. So it's almost one by one. However, I'm not sure when you're saying it's going to be startup, like, are you buying different facilities or are you striking partnerships? Anyway, whoever asked me that question, I'm more than happy to continue the conversation with you and connect you with people who have been working in that field, especially patent lawyers who will be happy to answer that question most probably 100 times better than me. What are your suggestions for finding potential to test market fit? Is there any technology that allows you to find people? Do most people do this the old-fashioned way, cold? Yeah, that's interesting. Actually, cold calls and emails are disastrous. Like, those are the ones that will frustrate you, and you don't learn from them because there is no feedback. So in talking to humans and the other book called The Mom Test, you can learn few tips and tricks. So for example, and it depends on, again, it depends on whom you're targeting. So let's start with the one. If you are selling to consumers, it's easy. They're all around you. If you're looking for athletic people, go to the gym. If you don't like gyms, just in the old days, I would have told you, go to a bar and have a drink with people who are watching the game. Even it doesn't mean that they're athletic, actually. But they're fans. So the idea, trying to find them, especially if it's consumers, think about where they're going to be. And why I'm saying that, reality, because of my limited vocabulary, and I think there is no better word to describe, really, we're not looking for the word interview. We're looking for the word chatting with potential customers and different stakeholders. So already when you're sending cold call or email, you're setting up the stage for formal answers. And actually, during the interview, your job is to make it informal and more that the person feel comfortable sharing more information with you. So my short answer now is, think about where you can find them. Go and try to make it more of coincidence. One question. In the smoke shelters, things like this, try to find them where they exist normally. If you're selling them a bed or mattress or something, go to where people shop for mattresses and beds, and so on and so forth. If it's B2B, strongly encourage you, start with your own network. Try to find someone who can improve the quality of your email, help you find the right words. So your first step is find people in your close circle as possible who can hopefully connect you to someone else. But otherwise, sometimes there will be no other choice except cold calls and emails. That's a big topic, and it's scary. I don't know if you're a student, you graduate, or what. So I would love to talk with you. We have a couple of companies working on this as well. And I know we have a couple of mentors that would like to chat with you if you have something valuable. So I'm happy to chat. It is tricky how you find potential customers, and you have to find groups that believe in your idea. It's when it comes to health in general, it's tricky. And do you want the customers or the patient to take risks or not? And imagine now, if you're talking about a mental health coaching, do doctors, physicians, there are people who would like to make sure that whoever is talking with, that no one, it's not going to be easy for people to introduce you to people with have mental health problem, because they are going to be worried about are you going to help or not. And there is no what is call yourself overthinking if you're only thinking. Like, for example, let's say I assumed, or I thought about an idea. Okay, I'm gonna reach out to St. Michael Hospital, or I'm gonna reach out to people in humanities. I'm gonna Google someone who talk about mental health in Ryerson, and I'm gonna reach that person. I will tell him or her that I'm a student in Ryerson who's trying to do blah, 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 blah. Go and talk with her, and maybe, or him, and maybe you need to ask that question, where can I find these people? And they will tell you the obstacles, but if they believe in your idea, they will help you out. Okay, any other question?
Hi, Tariq, thank you for that. That was my question that you answered. I appreciate that perspective. I did have a follow-up question as well. My name is Moshe, by the way. I was going to say, is there something that we can offer people in exchange for their time for the discovery call?
Of course, but you have to be smart on it. So one of the videos that you will find in the library, a person wanted to discover more about people who are suffering from diabetes. No, actually, it's not in that one, but it's a famous story in Berkeley. So the team of students went and they bought donuts for them, and they were giving donuts to people who have diabetes coming out of wherever they're getting the treatment. So the idea of a small compensation is good, but you have to understand why they're giving you time. If that small reward will bias their answers or not, right? However, of course, you as a consumer, if someone offered you $5 or gift card in Starbucks, would you be more willing to talk with them or not? In B2B, I haven't heard about it, and I will not sure if how ethical it's going to be anyway. But you always can compensate people for time. That being said, I was dealing with an amazing coach, amazing entrepreneur, and she's taking a break after a couple of her startups, and she's willing to. She even wanted to charge me to connect me to potential customers. So the idea of compensating people for their time, it's only fair. What you should be worried about is it going to change anything of the answer or not, and can you afford that or not? So one of the key things, Moshi, is you are an entrepreneur. The most important thing is to be resourceful. If you end up investing that, and actually you could have got these answers without investing them, then I would say no. Does this make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate your time.
You're very welcome. Okay, I'm not sure if someone is asking me another question. Let me go to the docs again, I guess. No. So no more questions? Or there is more? Is there a Google page for yes, there is. There is a Google page for questions, and here it is. And in B2B, one thing the company I work for does is going to conferences in our area and offering a lunch presentation. So people, yes, that's a very good, but that's again, if you can afford that as a startup, it's amazing. But yeah, big companies, like there is a company called Elsevier, for example, one of the big, I think is the biggest publishing company in the world. They do far more than that. They actually come or they organize the conference itself, because it can allow them to talk with customer and sell to their customers as well. Any other question? So someone, anonymous Kiwi, yeah. How fast do you need? These questions, guys, you're looking for black and white answers. In entrepreneurship, there is no black and white. People are going to tell you that it's affected by the personal experience and the industry that you're in. So, for example, you're thinking about idea about an app. If you don't have an app developer, or you don't have the skills to develop a quick prototype to show to people, it's going to be a problem. So how fast do you need to incorporate people to your team? It depends on the activities you're doing and your personality as well. In general, the wisdom is build a good team. Make sure that when you are in the founder, if you're getting founders with you, make sure they complement your skills. Don't look for people who think like you, and make sure it's for the long term. So as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, I have seen examples of people build a team and then seek the idea. If you're working about an idea, the momentum of the idea, if you're moving in the right direction, you will find that you need to add people along the way. Again, it's of course I'm not giving you straight answer because I don't have the experience to answer it, and I don't think there is one answer for that. Any other question? Okay, so with that, I would like to thank you all for your attention. And Yasmina Ilzain, iBoost Zone and the Center for Engineering Innovation Entrepreneurship. If you don't mind, I would like you to follow up with me. I'm really impressed by the resources you have been sharing all along the way. And if you don't mind, we will be giving you a gift, $50 gift card for your help along the way, and the way you're helping your I don't know, call that classmates, workshop mates, startup schoolmates. So thank you, Yasmina, for that. And if you can reach out to me directly or through Cleo, that would be great. Cleo,
amazing. We are good to go, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out. This is super great. It was a nice big session. I appreciate everybody. The slides will be on the website tomorrow along with this video. If you guys need to get any more information, I'll get it up there. And I guess we'll see you next week. Tarek, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you.
Yeah, and one thing, Cleo, here, when I send you guys, you know what? I'm going to add another extra slides for the website for the videos. Because, yeah, the videos themselves, you're not going to be able to access them through the slides. Thank you all. Enjoy the amazing weather outside.
All right, guys. Have a great night, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.